want to talk about poison dripping. Now, if you don't know what poison dripping is it's when there's someone or something around you in your life that you engage with that seems to give you value up front. You know, you welcome it openly, but over time, it drips little bits of poison to you. It takes, it leaches, it destroys you. And all this time, it up front is looking if it's doing you as if it's doing you good. In reality, it's not. So poison dripping can come in many forms. It can be a person you know. It can be a situation like something that you partake in. It can be a thought that you have, a belief system that you've embodied in a way of life. And it can be even yourself through habits that you have. If we start off with other people, let's take relationships, for example, or just meeting people, not even engaging long term. If you meet someone, and obviously you want to be the most authentic and congruent you can be, but everybody else not necessarily is, and they have hidden motives sometimes, and sometimes it may be that they're expressing a true version of themselves in a way, but then over time, you know, they'll change. And obviously you want to be aware, you want to calibrate, you want to screen, you want to try to, you know, have those boundaries to be able to look out for those things and have other people who will look out for them with you. But if, say, you meet a guy and you think he's really hot, and then all of a sudden later on things seem to be a little bit off, he's not as cool as he was, he's not as driven, he's kind of creepy, he's kind of clingy, and you've built a relationship, a friendship, and you've become comfortable to the point where, you know, you don't really want to blame them for those attributes because you've bonded with them over time, but technically they're not good for you. Having them around isn't a plus, it's a minus. And you may want to be nice, and sometimes too nice for your own good. But in these times, you got to cut these chodes off and run. You can't be, I can't stress enough how much stagnation is toxic. If you're a goddess and you're on your path and you're crushing it and you want to surround yourself with like-minded people who will bring you up, humoring people, especially when you find out that they're poison dripping you, and say you're like, well, I mean, that's them living their life. I can't really judge them. Well, if it's poison dripping you, then yes, you can, because that's breaking boundaries. That's coming into your bubble and affecting you in a negative way. And you may have built a great relationship with this person, but say that they're needy, they complain a lot, they dwindle your resources, they dwindle your mental bandwidth and energy. They're negative, you know, they're clingy, they feel like they need exclusivity. You know, there's so many different ways that it could take place, and guys are creepy, guys are weird, and ideally, I would say a goddess should have a harem of multiple guys who she keeps at a distance, so that, you know, there's those boundaries, there are those filters, and obviously you will be gaining from them positively, and hopefully have a firewall defense system in place to yeet them and get rid of them. And I can't stress enough how saddening it is when I see a goddess who lets their guard down, who feels like they gotta be nice, who lets someone hang around longer than they should when they realize that, you know, they're poison dripping them. You know, they're stifling their growth. And, you know, that's just one example of weird, creepy guys and how they can be poison dripping, you know, come off, oh, all cool, all swaggy, you know, they're obviously attractive, so there's that side of things. So you may have skewed judgment. It may not even be your fault. You may have they may have slid under the radar. You may be having great time with them, but then in other aspects aside from the enjoyable, there's more negative than there is positive. And in my view, even a little bit of negative. Why settle? You shouldn't settle. You should never settle. Let's say it's not someone who you're as frequently seeing or in communication with, and it's someone exteriorly. So even say someone who's an acquaintance as opposed to a friend in the first example. Say, you know, you have a friend who you see on occasion, an acquaintance, a coworker, and every time you see them, because, you know, you're in a certain environment, they they haven't seen you in a while. They act a certain way, and they want to build rapport with you. They want to, be friendly. They want to, see if they can then extend your engagements outside of the normal environment that you meet them in. And they may not even have ulterior motives and that they're expressing, and you're trying to come across chill and congruent, but it's it's an example like when they demand time from you. They demand attention or affection, or want intimacy, or they want exclusivity of some sort. And it's weird because these people will come across friendly. They're an acquaintance, a person who you know on the surface, and they've led you to believe that things are positive, but then secretly they have these ulterior motives, and they're negatively plotting to try to gain a foothold, to then leverage. And it may start out with, oh, this acquaintance, we're doing a group function, and they were there and came along, and then they start crushing the vibe all of a sudden. They're poison dripping. But then you're like, oh, well, maybe it's me and not them, and they're just doing them, and I'm seeing them in a different light because I'm starting to get to know them. Gotta yeet these chodes. Can't be humor in them. First sign of poison dripping, eject set. Not worth it. And I mean, I'm not saying, oh, I don't see people, I don't hear people, I'm immune to all of the riffraff, and I'm blocking them out left and right. I'm not saying to be ignorant, but it does help to, set boundary. So that way, there's not an ease of access to get to you, because if you're a goddess, you're bad, a lot of poison dripping people will come towards you because they're jealous, they want at you, they don't have what you have. Great way to combat this is to know your worth and never settle. As soon as you see the first sign of poison dripping, gone. Cut it. It's not worth it. Never worth it. Fortify, build your bubble, surround yourself, fellow goddesses, and screen. Sad that there's always going to be creepy, weird, uncalibrated guys. It disgusts me. I wish we could get rid of them all. But until then, stay vigilant. Watch out for the poison drippers. Another area where you can run into poison dripping is events you partake in. Whether it be school, whether it be work, whether it be socializing at bars and clubs. It can come in many forms, especially when you're blind to it, because you view it as a positive. Say school, getting education, getting credentials that you need to, get a job in some field. You think that it's going to help you out, but over time, you build a dependency on the school because you think it's now the only way that you'll be able to achieve your goals. And for some career paths, very specific ones, you need to be certified, so school is helpful. But it's still, even then, doesn't always guarantee any sort of job placement or even prepares you for what the real world is like. A classroom is a classroom. The real world is the real world. And over time, school seems to be giving you value. You're getting smarter. You're having interesting experiences. You're getting to meet new people. You're going towards your passion, towards what you're interested in, and you feel like there's growth. But over time, first it takes the money away from you if you have to pay for tuition, pay for travel expenses to commute, pay for, all the other random things that you do because you're at school. You gotta eat, you gotta go hang out with your classmates for social proof. But it takes away money. It takes away your reliance on yourself and puts your reliance in them. You're like, oh, now school's the only way I could ever possibly ever get to my goals. Poison drips you in that way. And it also poison drips you in being so dependent and so invested that you've put all your chips in the pile. And then come your graduation, does it pay off? Is it 100% foolproof? Well, they led you to believe it. You're going the right path. You're You're gonna get what you deserve at the end, but you got poison dripped. You thought that all that value you were getting up front was going to lead to whatever career goal you were aiming for, and it's never promised. Now, say work, you get money, some instant gratification. You get to spend that money. You think you're getting value. You get to live life, take care of your logistics and expenses. It seems to be good, but unless you're working for yourself and you have freedom and financial freedom, if you're working for someone else, then for one, obviously, they don't really have your best interests in mind, or else they would be trying to nurture, grow, and get you to a point where you can move on from there. Now, obviously, some jobs have room for improvement and leveling up to other positions, but even then, still within the confines of the structure. There's always a ceiling. There's always a limit to how far you can go, and getting conditioned to feel like you're providing value to the team, it makes you invested. And sometimes you're like, oh well, these are my coworkers, my boss, this is my job. I like it. I feel like I'm contributing and all that. But at the same time, it limits you from striving for things outside of that job. You're like slowly getting poison dripped. Yes, depend on us for this paycheck. Yes. Yes, we give you the money. Yes. Only work with us. Yes, tolerate us. It has come some quite some time has passed that you've been here, and now we want you to continue to work without a promotion, without a raise. And you've been poison dripped. You've invested all this time. You're really a team player. You're really invested in the growth and development, and never panned out. All right, and let's say with going to the club and stuff, you're out there, you're living life, you're getting validated. All the guys coming up, all the baddies coming up. You and your homegirls, you're lit, you're turning up, you're the life of the party, the most popular, clout, all the turn up you could possibly want. But it starts to poison drip you. You get exhausted, you get drained socially, just being pulled in so many directions by so many people. Drama comes up because you're getting involved in other people's lives, and maybe you have boundaries. Maybe you make sure that you only hang with certain people who are stress and drama free. But that's awesome. But think of the health side. If you're consistently clubbing, I'm talking about people who actually go out like 5 days a week, or so, turning up, kickbacks too, not just the club, all sorts of parties and functions. Some people go out 7 days a week. You're the goats. I see y'all out here. But all in all, if you don't balance, then it'll be poison dripping. So much fun, such a great experience. But then when you have to do other things that aren't the turn up, handle business, go to work, deal with people, you're drained. And what seemed to be epic and something that was the highlight of your week, highlight of your day, highlight of your life, has now poison dripped you. They got their money. They had you come to the venue. The venue, it's a business, but they took money from you and left you tired, hopefully not too exhausted the next day. And you gotta then try to thrive when you're already drained. So it's some of those are very subjective to people's circumstance of how they go about living their life. But the main point was that different environments and activities that you can partake in can be poison dripping. You think you're having a great time, you think it's beneficial, you're really invested, but then in the long run it doesn't pan out the way you thought it would. School didn't pan out, job hasn't been treating me right, it's not really panning out the way I thought. Club, thought I was gonna meet all these hot guys, thought I was gonna be able to turn up, have fun. Now I'm like destroyed the next day, and then my sleep pattern's messed up, and yada yada yada. Doesn't always pan out. A great way to combat these situations that you're in that are poison dripping is to become more self-aware. I always love the power of being wrong and being able to realize you're wrong. So every day I question, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? Should I be doing it? Am I enjoying doing it? What's this doing for me? And I really audit. I try to audit as much as you can. And the more you audit, the more you'll be able to peep early on where your blind spots are, where this filter over your life is to, you being able to have a tolerance to some things that aren't necessarily positive for you. And when they start to seep in and become normal, that tolerance goes up and you're willing to tolerate more, and tolerance goes up. And those boundaries and thresholds are broken. And if you really want to be able to peep if an activity is draining you, audit. Really weigh those pros and cons, see where, even though it may be awesome and enjoyable, it is a detriment, and then see if it's worth the cost. Thought is another form of poison dripping. Any thoughts. You may be like, what? Like thinking negatively versus thinking positively? No, thinking at all. Thinking at all. Like, think about this. Have you ever done anything in the past? Can you do stuff in the past right now? Answer is no. So why revisit it? Can you do anything in the future? Have you ever done anything in the future? Answer is no. So why think about it? You may want to plan, want to try to calibrate for something. Well, you can only plan up to a certain extent, and then you actually have to do the thing. So stop thinking about the plan, and you can only do the thing in the moment that it needs to be done. So there's no point in dwelling on it. You may need to calibrate for something. Well, you can only calibrate effectively from the present moment. You can't plan to calibrate too many variables. Now, thinking is poison dripping more so because can you stop yourself from thinking? Well, I'm thinking about, how I looked in the mirror this morning. I was looking pretty bad, that's like positive. So like, I saw a hot guy. I'm gonna hit him up, slide in those DMs. So I'm thinking about that, that's kind of cool. I'm enjoying this, I'm thinking about how I'm gonna get some chocolate cake later. It's gonna be so delicious. Oh my gosh. There's things that are enjoyable that you can think about. But at any moment in time, is that actually you? And can you stop that thinking? Can you stop that thought? Like, are you even aware of what's going on? Like your surroundings? Are you aware of like what's going on inside of you? Are you in touch with yourself? And I'm not talking about something like, oh, we'll become one with the universe. I'm just talking about if your brain is running you because thought is at your hierarchy of what you're doing is thinking is at the top. You're taking away from the whole rest of the list of your life's potential things that you could be experiencing. So how can you stop yourself from thinking? Can you stop yourself from thinking? A great resource to help combat this problem of the poison dripping of your life and how you think every day. And humans think, it's just what we are conditioned to do. It's encouraged. Hey, think, brainstorm, think about solutions and stuff like that. And it can be effective in some facets if it's executed upon and not dwelled upon. But if you read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, favorite resource on the present moment, can't recommend it enough. You'll get a grasp on how to get a grip on your mind and stop the thought that keeps on coming. And you may have, I'm not perfect, spurts of no thought. That's amazing. You're present to the moment. You're out of your head. Congratulations, you've got out of your head. You stopped thinking. But what about the rest of your life? Are you going to settle for a life of a person who dwells on the past or dwells in the future? No. How can you be your best self then? How can you really be living if you're settling for this state of limbo where you let your brain run your day and you're living through your brain instead of through your whole entire body, experiencing the life of you? No one else can experience your life. You'll live it, and you can either live it stuck in your head thinking about things, or you can free your mind. Free yourself from your mind, I guess I should say more so. And it's poison dripping because you are raised, you have lived this many years of your life thinking that thought was productive, thought was good. You've been conditioned. Everybody else does it too. It seemed like it's been a great way that you can navigate, that you can accomplish things, that you can, become a better you. It seems like that. But is taking away from the fullness and value you can get from your full life's experience worth that? Oh, well, I thought I was helping myself grow. I thought I was solving problems. I thought I was being productive. But those are just fabrications in your mind. You've never, until you act, and you can only act in the present moment, all those thoughts are useless. So audit yourself. Catch yourself when you're going into unconsciousness and autopilot. Stop those thoughts. Stop yourself from poison dripping yourself with thoughts. A belief system also can be extreme source of poison dripping. Now, obviously, if it's something that you've adopted as a belief system, there's a certain amount of bias that you have. Obviously, you're in favor towards this belief system. It's served you well. You've invested into it. Likely other people have the similar belief system. So there's a group think also backing it. And once you've, adapted something as part of yourself, it's hard to be able to say no. I was wrong. Okay, I was just wrong. It takes a lot to go against other people. It's even harder to go against yourself, especially when you've lived this long believing that this was the way, this is how it is, and then all of a sudden, oh, my beliefs were wrong. Now I was wrong. I have to change as a person fundamentally. It's a tough transition, but it's oftentimes that someone's belief system is a form of poison dripping because the bias has clouded their judgment. They've become comfortable. They're rooted in it. They're invested. Thus, if something is poison dripping you, you won't even notice it. Say you are in a relationship with someone and they seem like they're the world. He's got a great body. He's smart. He's funny. He's he can cook. He's got other hot friends who you get to hang out with. You go on fun adventures. All that seems like a great grounding for a belief that this guy is awesome. But he's extremely jealous, extremely clingy, oftentimes very needy. Now those three things compared to all those other things I listed, that's like 3 versus a whole lot. And you have all those positive reference experiences, investment into the, oh, this is a great guy category. But then, being clingy, being needy, being jealous. To me, those are some red flags of a chode. Someone who's insecure. Someone who's leeching and taking value. But, you believe, it's in your belief system that this guy is a good guy. And yeah, well, now I'm starting to question, is he really that good for me? I would say no. But you've been poison dripped into, oh, well, there's all this enjoyable, positive, validation, dopamine, codependence of, or maybe he's codependent and you're not. That there's all this good that's come from it. Well, does it really outweigh the bad? Well, it's like having a balance scale, where there's like one thing here, and then when you put something heavy here, this side goes down, that side goes up. When you have a balance scale, it's like you have one, but it's weighted, everything's over here. So all the good categories seem to outweigh the bad. Your bias, your comfort, your I don't know, preference, your favorability, the rapport you've built has clouded your judgment, and you have been poison dripped. Now, this may not be intentional at all. They may not be trying to affect you in a negative way. That might be just who they are, how they are. But are you okay with that? Are you willing to let them break your boundaries? Let them be jealous of you and of other people who engage with you? Be clingy to you. Be needy. All that codependency, all that no, it's us, only us, versus, oh, it's me and it's you. We're separate, can do things together, have a great time, grow, adventure. You've been poison dripped, and a lot of times that's a blind spot a lot of people have. And a great way to combat that is to be very grounded, to have boundaries, to really audit every day. Things, although they may be good, always have room to be better. And if the things you want to become better, say those things that I mentioned are brought to light, and you believe that this is a good person and you're going against that belief system, then it could get better. This belief system worked for me for a certain amount of time. Am I now willing to settle? Let's go for another example. You believe that you look better with filters on. You're like, all right, I'm gonna post a picture, I'm gonna post a video, I'm gonna use this filter. Or say you're not digital, I'm gonna go put on makeup. Now, filters add a certain sense of aesthetic. Makeup adds a certain sense of aesthetic. But if you believe fundamentally that, this is when I look the best. I look the best. I get the most good feedback when I look like this. I get the most validation when I wear makeup, when I put a filter on. Then, you've conditioned yourself to think that. That's now your belief. Now, the way that this is poison dripping is your default should not be, I need something to be beautiful. If you're a goddess and you know you're bad, why are you seeking externally to get something to fulfill you? Everything should be coming from within. You are enough. What else is something going to do but enhance what your baseline of already amazing should be? Now, the poison dripping comes in of the belief is that the conditioning of you accepting that you're only happy when, only beautiful when, only comfortable with yourself when you have the makeup, you have the filter, now has tricked your mind into only accepting that. So now when you start to look at yourself and you don't have the makeup on, you don't have a filter on, start to judge yourself. You've poison dripped yourself with your own belief. The negativity is now seeping in. You're relying on the filters. You don't feel good with no makeup. Your default shouldn't be that. You should feel gorgeous every day. No makeup, no filter. But your belief has poison dripped you over time. And now, those red flags, that's negative, that's toxic for you to believe that, to feel that way about yourself. You've been poison dripped. And a great way to combat this is to audit. Check. See, whoa, every day, why do I believe this? Why am I living my life this way? Could things be better? Am I selling myself short? Am I settling? Am I willing to live the life of a schlep peasant who thinks lowly of themselves? Or will I take the time to invest in myself, to give myself some self-love? I know I deserve it. I know things can be better. These beliefs I had, they steered me the wrong way, Never again. Can't look back. That me that I thought was beautiful with the filters and the makeup is only okay. I'm a baddie. I don't need none of that extra. I'm good enough as is. Now, poison dripping through habits can come in so many different ways. Kind of touched on in the last one, say, with the habit of overlooking the negative attributes of people, or the habit of relying on makeup or a filter to have confidence. You know, habits come in the smallest scale of what do you drink every day? Are you breathing properly? What do you put in your body when you eat? Are you sleeping properly? And as a human, you build up tolerance, you have resilience. You can go with less sleep and just go to Starbucks and get some coffee. You can drink alcohol and not water, or drink, or instead of green juice or fruit juice. You can eat chips, cookies, pizza, burgers, instead of spinach, other vegetables, fruits, healthy proteins, vitamins and minerals and supplements. There's many alternates that could be good, could be more beneficial. I mean, if you want to lose weight, you know what you should do. It's pretty simple. Everybody knows. You just need to do it. If you want to be in a state of more clarity, you know what you need to do. You just don't do it. So it's kind of like a waste to go into habits that are poison dripping, because I assume that people should know. But then again, they're willing to settle. And let's say if it's a case where it gets out of hand, sugar's a great one. Soda, cookies, cakes, all things that are delicious. They give you that instant gratification. You enjoy them. But, long term, if you develop a relationship with sugar where, you just go for it daily, it satisfies you in every way, shape, and form. Your belly's full. Your body feels good. You got that sugar going through. Your cells on overdrive. You feel the taste sensation. Just mentally, it's anchored as a positive experience. But over the years, it can lead to such detrimental health issues. You can have issues with diabetes, with high blood pressure, with teeth falling out, with sugar addictions. And initially the sugar was good, you enjoy it, but then over time it gets out of hand and you don't take care of your body. And that you can attribute to drinks and beverages as well. Not saying alcoholism or being an alcoholic, but if you drink just regularly or even casually, you have liver, kidney, skin that all gets deteriorated by intake of liquor, which is poison that people drink to get lit, but it's basically poison. People just somehow culturally have accepted that liquor is okay, even though it can kill you. People just do it anyway. Go turn up, get your drink on with the girls. Is that really the best choice of turn up? And granted, to each their own, but be aware at the same time that you're poison dripping yourself. You get a boost of how do I describe it? A positive reference experience. You're turning up, you're having fun, you're lit. It's reinforced in every way as if it's good, but there are negative things aside from just hangovers in the immediate, because you can get over a hangover, or you can just drink properly and also eat and also stay hydrated so that you don't have a hangover. Know your limits. Don't get alcohol poisoning. And so it seems like it's manageable, but then over the years your body starts to deteriorate. You start to develop issues. You have poison dripped yourself. All your friends have also had the habit of drinking, so you pick up the habit of drinking, and then you all have poison dripped yourself together. So habits can come in many forms, and it's more so a long-term game with that. I mean, there could be short-term habits, like say you don't look both ways before you cross the street, and you get hit by a vehicle. Tragic. But you built the habit of, oh, I can just jaywalk, or I can, it's chill, it's my residential neighborhood, or, all sorts of circumstances where it could go horrible, and that could be a short-term habit that you built that poison dripped you. And obviously safety first. Put yourself first. Have a high sense of self-worth and value your well-being. That's the best way to combat, habitual things that, turn out to be poison dripping to you. And it's also difficult because a lot of these things are enjoyable, but these bad habits are bad habits for a reason. And, it's good to have accountability partners, other people who are of the same level, some fellow goddesses who aren't going to be okay with seeing you fall. So many different ways that you could take it. And the best way is to be self-aware, audit yourself, make sure that, you know what you're getting into, and you could be susceptible to, falling prey to it. Not just use food and safety and drinking as examples, but habits can go very far, very wide. Say you have the habit of giving people benefit of the doubt. And you're like, oh, I met this guy, he seems all right, he's kind of cool. Okay, now, yeah, I have viewed him as kind of cool, so now let me just say, he's pretty hot, he's kind of really cool, he does some cool stuff. You're giving him the benefit of the doubt without like substantial, time having passed. You just met him a little while ago, see him on the gram builds a little bit of comfort. You feel like you got to peer into his life through the digital, maybe meet within a group setting or something and kind of get a taste for his personality. But that habit of, oh, give him benefit of the doubt, puts this like these like shades on that are a filter of like, oh, now I'm attributing value to this person when they haven't even earned it yet. And that can set you up for a lot of bad situations. You could end up having like some creepy dude who won't leave you alone. Hate creepy dudes. Just thinking about men in general. So habits like that also can be poison dripping. It's worked so far. You want to be nice. You don't want to judge people, but at the same time, you then have poison dripped yourself in removing your boundaries, letting yourself become susceptible to any person wriggling their way in, with a smile and some clout, Be careful of where your habits may lead to poison dripping. And it could be something that served you well for a long time. But, it's always good to be open to really looking at yourself with the most unbiased view and checking to see ways that you could be better, you could level up so that you don't fall prey to bad habits, and also changing the way you go about things. You don't have to, live your life the same way for your whole entire life. You could still have the same habit, but change the way you go about it. Like, I will drink soda. Disgusting. I hate soda. Let me use a different example. I have been, since it's a habit, I have been questioning myself every time I take a picture or video of myself. And, it's good because I want to curate, and I'm a perfectionist, and I want to keep aesthetic for the clout. That's a habit. It may have served you well. You may have been able to sustain, the imagery that you like. But at the same time, that's also limiting. It's detrimental because you're not, being your full self, comfortably as yourself. Cool squirrel back there. You're stifling yourself, stifling your growth, your self-love, your confidence. So, say you see that habit and you want to audit. You're like, well, I have been going with the method of using filters, of taking 16 photos and choosing the best instead of being okay with like the first take because I'm a baddie. I'm a goddess and I'm bad and I should know it. And then you're like, okay, well, let me change this habit. Whoa, you are open to changing something that worked for you. And in doing so, then hopefully you build that confidence. Really stop tripping and really, get present to the moment. Take away the judgment. Know you're enough. That's a great audit example of how you were poison dripping yourself into a negative relationship of the way you viewed yourself. And now you were willing to audit, willing to accept you were wrong, and willing to, change something and let go of a little bit of aesthetic, wasn't worried about clout, and then the repercussions of that are now a healthier relationship with you, giving yourself that self-love and value that you deserve, because that you is in there. I'm talking to that version of you that's already a baddie, a goddess, who's not going to settle, who's willing to eradicate chodes and bad habits and set higher boundaries and barriers to entry to, really put yourself first on that pedestal. I only want the best for you, and you should never settle. You should never, ever settle. You're a goddess and you're a baddie. You only deserve the best. So let's revisit some of these things, just as a quick reminder to touch on some of the tools that hopefully you'll be able to take to go forward to navigate the world. And this is just an intro. Could go very deep on many aspects of poison dripping, but it's just a little bit for a start. So we start off with poison dripping could be a person. Build up your defenses, your screening, your boundaries. Stay vigilant. Don't give people benefit of the doubt. Really hold yourself at a place where your future you would look back and be like, yep, we weren't rocking. We were not going. Nothing but the finest. No chodes. No weird men. Ew. Yeah. Only baddies, only goddesses around. And another one was, situations. Not just people, but situations that you're in. Make sure that what you're using your time for is a worthy investment. Not to say don't try things and rage quit and just leave it behind, but make sure that if you're going into a relationship with anybody, just spending more time with them, make sure that it's a win-win, more so just a win for you of anything, but make sure that you're being valued where you're spending your time at, that you're really getting the attention, all the clout. It's not a negative environment, it's only a positive environment that'll feed you in ways that are great, not ways that are, negative in any way or won't pan out the way you're expecting them to be. And there's also thoughts. Get present to the moment. Check out Eckhart Tolle and The Power of Now. Don't be dwelling about what other people think about you, about what you think about yourself. Don't be dwelling in thought at all, especially about the past, or especially about the future. Because there's only one you, and that you is right here, right now. You may be stuck in there, you may be stuck in your head, but get out of your head. You can't live life in your head. Why stifle yourself? Why not live that best life? Get to your full potential. Don't settle. Thoughts that lead to belief systems. You may believe something, it may be core, fundamental, part of your identity, but are you willing to sacrifice, your ego for a blind spot that could be extremely detrimental to you? It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Always audit, always question. Develop the love with losing, with being able to be wrong, being able to question yourself. Is this guy worth my time? Are my friends worth my time? Is this job that I'm at worth my time? What am I doing? Is it really with my best interest? Maybe you need to change a belief that's held you down for a long time, but be open to it, you know? Check your blind spots. You know, habits, little things that can creep in that are part of your everyday routine, part of, you know, who you are, part of maybe even as wide as a cultural thing, or a career, not career, what's it called? A personal thing that you resonate with heavily. Passion. Maybe it's a passion habit, a habit that's correlated with something you're passionate about. You know, be very careful of the long-term effects. Make sure you're not setting yourself up because you don't want to play yourself. You know, going back to being able to accept that you're wrong sometimes, being able to look out for blind spots, you know. All I want's the best for you, so watch out for poison dripping from people. You know, watch out for poison dripping from situations and things that you partake in, you know. Watch out for poison dripping from your thoughts. Watch out for poison dripping from your beliefs. You know, watch out for poison dripping from habits. And like I said, there's just a few of many forms of poison dripping. Just a little intro, just a little thing to get you aware, give you some tools to help tackle and really rise to the top, being the best you can possibly be, because that you is in there now. You know, you now have the tools, and you're not gonna look back and be like, oh, I can go back there. No, now you gotta be vigilant of poison dripping, because a goddess only deserves the finest. Anything less, we don't settle out here. We do not settle. So get out of your head, get present, check out Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. Be aware, live your life to the fullest. Get out of your head. Watch out for that poison dripping. Have fun.